Take me back to the place I know, with the mystery shack and the forest gnomes. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started, my heart's in Gravity Falls. Welcome to Mystery Shack Look Back, a nostalgic time capsule and no spoiler book club, and also just like a regular book club, I guess, given the lineup for these last 3 episodes. Well, whatever it is, it's about the original Gravity Falls fandom, and we are your curators. I'm Ella.
I'm Charlie.
I'm Shelby. And what? Who is that?
The author of the journal. Rob Renzetti.
Oh my gosh! It is Rob Renzetti!
Yes, it is.
Is this the part where one of us faints?
I'm walking out of the shadows so you can see me more clearly.
Yeah, can you take off that scarf and those goggles just so we can see your face better?
But then all that will be left is my shining dome, so watch out, you may be blinded.
Can you do that in a way that's very, like, in an animated in-house by Dana Terrace kind of way? Like, kind of revealing your face?
That's the only way I do it. I'm a snob when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's the only way to do it. So by saying the journal, we are, of course, referring to the real-life Journal 3, the canon Gravity Falls Journal 3 that was released by Disney Press. But before we get to that, Rob, this is your second time on this podcast as a guest.
Sort of.
Yeah, you did. We interviewed you about Dipper and Mabel's Guide.
Second and a half?
I would call that second and a half.
This is the point of the podcast where you exceeded 2 visits.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You have enough credits to graduate, Rob.
Oh. Well, wonderful.
You have an excess, honestly, with that extra half.
Yeah, so you took kind of a partial semester in Dipper and Mabel's Guide. But here, yeah, you're no longer a guest in this audio-based museum. You are a docent and can give tours of the museum.
Well,
that's very nice.
Will be a docent after a brief graduation coronation sort of deal. Are you ready for that, Rob?
Sure.
All right. Good. Raise your right hand and place your left hand on this copy of Gravity Falls Journal 3, the book you wrote.
All
yeah.
right.
Repeat after me. Repeat after me.
I am going to.
Repeat after me.
Repeat after me.
There you go.
I state your name.
I state your name. Parentheses, Rob Renzetti.
Do solemnly swear to uphold.
Do solemnly swear to uphold.
The duties of a Mystery Shack Look-Back docent.
The duties of a Mystery Shack Look-Back docent.
To preserve the history.
To preserve the history.
And protect the mystery.
And protect the mystery.
Of the Gravity Falls fandom.
Of the Gravity Falls fandom.
To fit the Hall of Conspiracies with conspiracy-proof glass.
To fit the Hall of Conspiracies with conspiracy-proof glass.
So the conspiracies don't escape.
So that the conspiracies don't escape.
Not again.
Not again.
I can't let that happen again.
I can't let that happen again.
I am still haunted by what they did to Kyle Carosa.
I'm still haunted by what they did to Kyle Carosa. I'm sorry, that should have been more dramatic reading.
I'm sorry, Kyle. I won't fail you again.
I'm sorry, Kyle. I won't fail you again.
And I promise.
And I promise.
To send Ella, Charlie, and Shelby an advance copy of A Horrible Bag of Terrible Things so we can release the podcast interview about it on launch day.
To send Charlie, Ella, and Shelby an advance copy of The Horrible Bag of Terrible Things. If my publisher will allow me to all the details.
Yes!
Well, that's legally binding. Totally binding.
I believe I could probably swing that.
So, Rob, you auditioned for the role of Stanford Ford Pines, correct?
Not officially, no. I did the voice when we would do our table reads before he was ever cast. Mm-hmm. And I would have loved to have been cast as Ford, but my version of Ford was probably... I think I do a better Stan, honestly, and that role was already taken. I
agree. You do a great Stan.
Mm-hmm.
This is controversial. You're my favorite Stan.
Oh my God. Don't let the original hear that.
So, what drew you to the character of Ford? Why did you want to read him in the table reads and potentially get cast as him?
I mean, stereotypically, I was the, nerdy scientist brother, if you wanted to think of Alex and I's brothers in
you were the one
show.
writing the journals and the
well, yeah, such. I mean, I like that kind of nerdy character. I'll go in all the way back to Dexter when I was working with Gendy on Dexter's Lab. So I've always had a real yen for science fiction and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
I mean, of course, it shows through in Teenage Robot, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, we've been circling the same kind of genres my whole career, kind of, not so much fantasy, but fantastical stuff with monsters and sci-fi and the combinations thereof. So, and Horrible Bag of Terrible Things is very much in the same vein of stuff.
Awesome.
So.
I'm so excited.
Sounds amazing.
So in the commentary for Weirdmageddon 3, Alex states that
the original line was, I said, between you and me, I'm not always the bad twin. And then Ford said, between you and I. And then Rob Renzetti here said that's wrong grammar.
Yeah, we had to reverse it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, between you and I is incorrect.
Well, there's a real...
That's right.
The real life Ford is Rob.
Well, again, what can I say? I am the man who, once I get very comfortable with you, has a hard time not correcting you if you're doing something inaccurate. As my
Yes.
it's out of love.
as my wife likes to say, not really my catchphrase, but she will say sometimes, accuracy over tact. Which is,
Was any of that a factor in determining that you would be the one co-writing Journal 3 with Alex Hirsch?
Considering it's written as Ford and you are called the real world Ford.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of that was a consideration. I mean, what really got me the job was co-writing Dipper and Mabel's Guide to Mystery Nonstop Fun, which came before the journal.
And all four of us are in the podcast episode about that, if you'd like to backtrack.
And I mean, I co-wrote that with Shane Houghton, who's one of the co-creators of
Big City Greens.
Big City Greens. And Alex was pleased with it, because he was overseeing it. And he, as with everything Gravity Falls related, he took his pass at it once it was written and changed some things, but he didn't change much. So I think he knew that I had the chops to help him write the journal. And, I obviously wanted to do it and made that quite clear to everybody on the show. And being the producer on the show, I had a little bit of sway. But I mean, Disney Publishing wouldn't have given me the job as well if they didn't think I'd done a good job on the first book.
Sure.
So that all contributed to it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Before recording that podcast, the three of us would meet every night and attempt to do every activity in it, and it was an absolute blast.
It was a joy.
But that is more in the vein of activity books.
Yes, yes. And it's, if I might say, I think it's the best activity book that Disney ever put out.
Oh, I agree.
I've actually recommended it to a few of my theater friends who have kids getting into Gravity Falls. I'm like, you need to get this book because it's got
perfect.
a cipher wheel. They can actually solve the ciphers throughout the show, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I think I've had 3 parents come to me in the past month, and I've recommended it.
That's amazing. And we gushed about it plenty in our corresponding episode, but it's just a perfect encapsulation of the silly side of the show and the mystery side of the show, as the title implies.
Yeah, I mean, that was what we were hoping to accomplish, and I'm very proud of that book and very happy with it. And putting the codes in something, that's one thing that I actually suggested was we should have a section on codes.
It feels necessary, yeah.
Yeah, Alex was the code master in the show. I didn't come up with any of the stuff in the show vis-a-vis codes, or in Journal number 3, he did all the code stuff as well. But
Gotcha.
I did say we should be teaching kids about this stuff. We should have a section that teaches them about codes.
That's the perfect training wheels book for Gravity Falls Journal 3, which is the official real-life canon adaptation of the in-show Journal number 3. This book was released on July 26th, 2016, or the 27th, depending on who you ask, but I like the 26th because that puts it on the same day as The Curse of the Time Pirate's Treasure, so they kind of get released in that duo format.
They're like twins.
Yeah, they rhyme. This book was written by one Rob Renzetti and another Alex Hirsch.
Who's that?
I don't know who they are. I've never met either of them in my life.
Oh, wait, that's this guy!
That's me.
This guy!
It's the Rob you've been talking to all this time.
Bobby Renzetti!
That's right.
It was illustrated by Andy Gosalves and Stephanie Ramirez.
You had mentioned that we had pinpointed the design philosophy of Dipper's and Mabel's Guide to Mystery and Nonstop Fun. How would you describe the design philosophy of Gravity Falls Journal 3?
Well, I guess it was the design philosophy or the mandate was really the journal and the show plus.
Yes.
Which meant if you were going to take the simplest version of the journal, it would just be a monster manual, right? It would be kind of a D&D's monster manual.
Yeah. This is a combination of D&D's monster manual / the the stupid Harry Potter one. But also it is a novelization of Gravity Falls in a lot of ways. Like it recaps the story wonderfully.
Yeah, it is kind of like both a prequel, a recap, and a sequel to the show, and that
recaps the story in a way that you should never read if you haven't watched the show.
Right, exactly.
Because it will spoil you immediately.
Yes, it definitely is meant to be read after you've watched the show.
No, that's interesting that it does function as all three. That it's a prequel, it's revealing information that you didn't know about before chronologically, but also kind of what comes after in a strange sort of way.
Yeah, kind of in between the cracks, and in the middle of basically what we wanted to do was just kind of like give more to the audience, stuff that we had come up with that we could never use or just didn't find a place for.
Absolutely.
And things that we just didn't have room for, like, Ford and Fiddleford's relationship. All that kind of stuff, all those kind of details that never had a chance to be explored in the show.
And in the show Gravity Falls, Ford is not revealed until 3/4 through the series, but we had pieces. We had little nuggets hinting that whatever backstory happened with Stan is relevant to what is happening now.
Yeah.
This has a very long section actually going into the backstory and seeing the events that we had only seen the echoes of in the show proper.
Yeah.
Right. And before the official title of this book was revealed, it was originally referred to as Dipper's Journal during the Gravity Falls Revealed panel at New York Comic Con in 2015, which I'm sure if Ford saw that title, he'd balk at it.
Be very upset.
Dipper's Journal. And there were also these really cool promo cards for the book that were distributed around, and they had a cryptogram on it in Caesar cipher. A shooting star may fall. Cracks are hidden in the wall. One eye watches all. And I have like two of these cards, and I think one of them, they have like different pages on the back. Like one of them's got the gnome page, etc. I thought they were really cool. I think that was a really cool way of teasing it, and just getting people really excited for it, because that was like almost a year before it came out. But people were already getting hyped for it.
Yeah, we were working on it for quite a while.
Yeah, when did that start in the show's timeline?
How long? Yeah.
Well, I was looking at some notes that I have, and they were dated July of 2015, but we were working on it before that. What I was looking at today, to just refresh my memory about the process a little bit, was like our proposal back to Disney Publishing, like, this is what we want the book to be. And a little bit about, like, it's going to have these 3 sections. It's going to be, it's going to be Ford writing the journal pages, the journal as, as the author, him disappearing, Dipper taking over, and then him coming back, and them kind of co-writing the end together.
Great.
So those things were our proposals, but we had started talking about it probably a month or two before that.
Interesting.
I know that, like Alex has mentioned in almost every interview, every time Disney says, what do you want to make for Gravity Falls merch? His immediate answer was always the journal. Were there other renditions of this that were floating around prior to when you guys started working on this?
I call them Renzetti editions.
No, not really. No, I think Disney Publishing was a little bit skittish at first. They Dipper and Mabel's Guide was kind of like the testing ground, I think. I don't know. I'm not privy to their discussions within their own division, but I know that they thought that was more of a sure bet to begin with, and that's why we did it.
Yeah, because everything else up to that point had been adaptations of episodes, just in like a little novel form. And those are great, but it's definitely not like the ambition of, we're going to recreate the journal that you see in the show. And it does seem like the obvious thing that any fan would want, though, which...
For sure.
I think is probably why I doubt you were involved in this, but the very first DVD that they released for Gravity Falls was a collection of the first 6 episodes. It was called 6 Strange Tales, and inside the DVD was a small, it's the size of a DVD case, and it's very thin. It's like a little pamphlet. It's a mini replica of Journal 3.
Yeah, I remember that.
With the pages that we had seen in the show at the time. Am I correct in that was not like a crew thing? That was more like Disney marketing?
Yeah, I think they did that. Alex probably saw it because he saw almost everything, but I never remember it crossing my desk before I saw a version of it.
and it was really cool.
Yeah,
it was definitely
of course.
really cool, and it certainly in the days before this came out, and I'm sure, I mean, even still, but especially back then, you know, every third fan was working on their own Journal 3 replica in lieu of there being an official one.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Shelby's is my favorite.
Oh yeah, I did all of mine from scratch. So my book is not only like, it's not a sketchbook. I didn't start with a base. I actually like aged my pages and sewed them together into a journal.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Very nice.
And all I had were blurry screenshots. I know that there was about, by the end of the series, I know there was about 75 pages released, but at the time that I started working on mine, which was right before the season 2 premiere, I think there was only like maybe like 20 pages that I could find.
Oh,
So-
yeah, that's not much.
Yeah. So, like, all of my pages are, like, I learned how to write cursive so I could make this. And it's just me talking about, like, Twilight and Charmed in, like, cursive that nobody else can read. So it's really dumb stuff
Yeah.
that makes me laugh.
I love that. I love, like, putting your own personal Easter eggs into it.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's just, it's really cool.
There are some blank pages in the journal, and in 2017, briefly after it was released, I was working at an aftercare program at an elementary school, and I saw the kids write in their journals, in the blank pages, entries about, like, weird toys they had. Or
That's
whatever.
awesome.
That's
so
awesome.
cute.
That is great. Oh, I love that.
I've never heard that. For us, blank pages were just a way to get to the number of page count we had to reach.
I mean, that, yeah.
Well, I was also going to say about the blank pages, I think they help to, because it's the moment after, you know, Ford has disappeared. I think it's a good pacing thing
Absolutely,
to kind of
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
emphasize,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, he's gone.
No, of course. I gave you the cynical answer, but the creative answer was like, it's
Yeah.
a bit of a palate cleanse between,
Yeah.
you know, transitioning from Ford to Dipper and then back to Ford again, so.
The first release was bound not with string, but with glue, and could fall apart if temperatures got too high.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah, I heard about that. I heard a lot of people of that.
And Shelby poured lots of attention into every page and had a copy that effectively was already unbound.
Yeah.
And so for our thumbnails, which are styled after the journal, that is actually one of the blank pages from Shelby's falling apart book placed into my scanner.
Yeah,
That is the base of our thumbnails.
it's a good parchment texture, yeah.
I'm so sorry that happened to you, Shelby.
It's okay. I have the limited edition one, so I'm okay now.
Ah, good for you.
As do I, and it is gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Good for you guys.
I was the only one here who was not living with their parents in 2017, so I'm like, I can't drop $150.
Understood.
On Amazon, it like lowered the price if it went on sale at any point, so we got the lowest possible
interesting.
price. So it was probably only like $50 or $60.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
on June 13th,
Which is my birthday.
2017, there was a limited series of 10,000 special edition journals featuring a leather texture cover with metallic clasps, real tassel bookmark, monocle/magnifying glass, like the one that's attached to the journal in the show, removable photos and notes, glossy photos,
I
Mabel's
love-
paper hat.
Oh yeah, you could take out Mabel's paper hat that she makes in Irrational Treasure. Or no, you could take out the parchment that she
parchment,
makes
yeah,
into the hat. But the fact that, like, everything is so textured.
It makes me so happy.
It's so fun to just, like, feel with your fingers. Like, it's so weird, but it's really, it's a beautiful piece.
In text adventures and point-and-click adventures, they would call those feelies.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that makes
They'd
sense.
be like, you could get the game and feelies.
It is full of feelies.
I really love that the blacklight has a texture. Like, I like just feeling that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a blacklight. I haven't tried it with a proper blacklight, but I know that it works just as well as glow in the dark. You expose it to light for a while, and then you turn the lights off, and it glows.
Yep.
I can't verify how it works with an actual
It works,
blacklight.
it works well.
Oh, awesome. Each copy of the Journal 3 Special Edition is individually signed, initialed by Alex Hirsch. I feel very lucky to hold one in my hands particularly because it is such a wonderful tactile experience for my fingers.
The feelies.
The feelies, exactly. And it gives me the feelies. Alex left a letter in the special edition that says,
"Hello, reader! If you're seeing this message, that means you're one of the lucky few who managed to get your hands on a copy of Journal 3 Special Edition. Only 10,000 of these rare books currently exist on Earth, and I personally own 48 of them. I made them into a little fort. Don't judge me!"
This book is the most show-accurate version of Journal 3 that exists, a hardbound treasure trove of secrets, monsters, and mysteries from the sleepy town of Gravity Falls. It comes with a monocle, so you can look closer than ever at the conspiracies inside, and each copy is signed by me. You can still smell the marker fumes, which was kind of true at the time. Best of all, legend has it that if you expose this book to a blacklight, brand new secrets will be revealed.
Are the legends true? Put on your dipper hat because it's time to find out. The answers are somewhere in the woods, waiting. Your pal, Alex Hirsch.
And the twist was that in 2018, Alex Hirsch revealed that there was one more copy of the Journal 3 Special Edition in existence, bringing the total number of copies ever made to 10,001. This was a one-off test print that was never meant for sale. It contained possible typos. It was given away by Alex on a charity stream a few days later. It is unknown who won it. Rob, how involved were you in the special edition specifically?
Not specifically at all.
Really?
Did you know that you are aware that you are in the special
Yes,
edition?
You are,
I
yes.
am. Yes, I am one of the ghosts.
You are the Grim Reaper in the
Yes,
special
if
edition.
if you hold the black light up to the Grim Reaper, you can see under his robes Rob Renzetti in his underwear.
Yeah, in that
Indeed.
classic heart pattern cartoon boxers, of course.
That was a surprise to me, as it was to everybody else. I was involved in the blacklight planning in the show, so you could say that I was involved in that.
Oh yeah, you directed the episode
Sure,
where it was revealed.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
and I was involved in all that. But when it came to doing that edition, Disney didn't want to pay me again, so it was left in Hirsch's hands.
You didn't even learn you were the Grim Reaper until the rest of the world.
I learned it when I turned the page and put my blacklight on that image.
How did you react to that initially?
I loved it. Are you kidding? It was
Or did you pick up the phone and just say, "Alex, your time has come"? But no, I guess it tracks, actually, considering Alex was, pretty much always the code guy. He would write all of the secret codes, and the blacklight is pretty much exclusively just little secret nuggets of information.
I'm remembering now that I think he did run me. He sent me a Word document, kind of running me through the ideas he had for it at one point, and I gave him some feedback. But it was he kind of had a lock on it.
Sure.
I said
That
this
makes
all
sense.
sounds good to me, and I might have suggested one or two things, but that was kind of just unofficial involvement. And I got copies of the special journal.
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
Not 48.
Have you made yours into a little fort?
Everyone here has a copy of the special edition except Charlie.
Yeah, poor Charlie.
We just have to film you with Sarah McLachlan in the background.
Okay.
You have to look very sad, mug at the camera, and we will.
Are we thinking the standard Arms of an Angel, or do we want to go When Somebody Loved Me just for our own little thing?
Just for our own personal tastes. Yeah, we got to play that.
We're going to play them one forward and one backwards.
Okay, yeah.
For just pennies a day, you can bring this Gravity Falls fan the joy of the Special Edition Journal 3. Donate now.
I did look online. They're going for $3,000 to $4,000 at this point.
For just $3,000 to $4,000, you too can bring.
For just $3,000 to $4,000 a day.
Please help us.
One funny thing I always thought about because of the blank pages leading into Dipper's writing is that Dipper begins writing in Journal 3 at the very end of Season 1, Episode 1, and then discovers the blacklight in Season 2, Episode 1, an entire, 20 episodes later. So I had always thought it would be funny if those weren't blank pages. Ford wrote the rest in invisible ink, and now it is unreadable because Dipper has written over
Now
it.
Dipper's covered it. Yeah, that would be very funny.
But one thing I am curious about, something that is always fascinating to me when I see something has two credited writers, were you in the same room brainstorming it, or was it like you would hand each other pages and be like, I finished this, can you see if you could put rewrites on it? What was the distribution of labor between you and Alex to get this book written?
We would have talks with ourselves, between the two of us, and then also with Disney Publishing, brainstorming on ideas and the concept for the book. And then I would take it upon myself, and I would write up a summary of what we thought, and then we eventually presented an outline of the book to Disney Publishing, which I also wrote up.
Wow.
And then I started on the journal. I started writing my portions of the journal before Alex did. But the first thing I did, let me backtrack just a minute. So the initial creative work on it was starting as the show was ramping down. So even though I had stuff to do, Alex was much more swamped than I was. So
For sure.
one of the reasons I jumped on it first was because I had the time. I had the time to do so.
That makes sense.
But also, the first thing I did, going back to Shelby screen grabs, is I also started with screen grabs. I basically went through the whole series and screen grabbed every time the journal was on screen and every page that appeared in every instance of it being on screen. So when Dipper opens it and starts flipping through it in episode 1, I screen grabbed every one of those.
How long did all of that take?
That took a while.
Wow.
I printed those all out and I put them up on a bulletin board. So I had every instance of the journal. I had every instance of what the sections of the book looked like, what the pages were, what the page orders were, and quickly discovered that we were incredibly inconsistent.
Yeah.
But sometimes the floating eyeball page, the pages moved around the book. The zombie page moved around the book. The gnome page moved
Well, that's a
around the
defense
book.
mechanism, obviously, that Ford had developed.
Yeah, the moving pages defense mechanism. We quickly came to the conclusion that there was no way we could replicate what we'd done in the show because we had not done things accurately.
It's way easier to start with a real book and then put the real book into a TV show than make a fictional book real.
I was legit gonna ask, like, the 75 or so-ish pages that were released in the show, like, was there actual writing there, or is that all stuff you had to create from scratch once you had it?
Well, there was actual writing in the book, but it was combined with scribbles. So, like, on the Trust No One page, right, Trust No One is clearly written there. But there's other things on that page that are scribbles or symbols or whatever. So
that you had to fill in.
Yeah, what we decided was, like, the fans have accepted that the journal is inconsistent in the show. So we're going to do what makes sense to us, and we're going to put these things in here kind of in order. The one thing that I thought was really important is that the first few pages matched the way we opened the book in episode 1.
Oh yeah, for sure. With the ripped off property of page and
the ripped off property of the floating eyeballs, the door page, the weird door pages, the gnome page being super early.
Yes, again, Sister Shabam. Oh
Yeah.
wait, no.
So
Shabam.
and then the zombie page had to be somewhere in the middle. So I took all the pages we had. I kind of
and the Gremloblin page had to cut off at use water. Only as a last resort, as water makes it much scarier.
And I was the one to figure out how to make that work.
That's amazing. Kudos.
I did those pages and figured out how to make that into something that would be fun and coherent. But that was the challenge of the book, was basically, what do we have? What do we have to stick to? What can we fudge? And I kind of came up with I did all that work, which Alex basically said, you are insane and a genius. Thank you for doing this.
You wouldn't have it any other way.
And we went forward from there. And I kind of came up with a plan, like knowing what we wanted to do with each part of the journal.
He said, "Sir, you are a raging psychopath, and don't let this town take that from you."
So then we kind of decided, like, well, what's the story we want to tell? Besides the monster pages, what's the story we're telling?
There's such a clear through line and arc in this book. It does tell a story, really. It is mostly a journal and a compendium, but there's an underlying story, and it starts, like, right on the second page is talking about, I want to find the unified theory of weirdness. I want to know why all of this happens. And that is the through line, at least for the first section or so, and then it becomes about hubris. It becomes about Ford's character.
Yeah, that was our idea. That was something that was very important to Alex, and something he definitely wanted to do, was to put And so did I. But Alex is the driving force of all this stuff. So he was like, if he wanted to do it, it was going to get done. So we came up with that story. We kind of came up with the beats. We kind of figured out what him and Fiddleford's relationship was, how they were going to be different, how they were going to be same enough that they became friends and collaborators, and how that was going to fall apart.
Oh yeah.
And then how Dipper was going to play into things and kind of become the new Fiddleford to Ford, all that kind of stuff. How Dipper had a similar character arc, but how he was different. And
how Ford has a relationship with Dipper that becomes healthier than anyone he's ever had.
Yes, yes,
after we're
and helps him to
it's still
come
not
to
healthy.
Well, yeah, he has to grow. I mean, honestly, much like in the show, Stan is really the key to everything, and Stan's sacrifice in the show is what really brings Ford, fully completes Ford's
down
transformation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That was our guide, and then it was just kind of figuring out, well, how would these, if these pages are early, what can we add in? A lot of the pages are just as simple, like I'm investigating stuff, and that gave us license to be silly and fun.
Yeah,
and when we felt we needed to pay attention to the broader story, we could add pages in that didn't exist, or we could put a little bit of something on the pages that did exist when it seemed appropriate.
Yeah.
So,
I just finished rereading it right before we hopped in. I timed it that way on purpose, and honestly, I cried a little, Rob. It's a really fantastically written book.
It's beautiful.
oh, thank you.
And was the character arc stuff, and that was also something you wanted from the beginning, or was that something you discovered along the way as you realized, like, this can't just be a monster manual?
Yeah, we did. We wanted something more than that. Similarly to how we wanted to kind of up what the guide to books were for Disney and make it a better version of that. We wanted to make a better version of the journal.
Everything that shines through in pretty much all Gravity Falls projects is like taking it a step beyond what it normally is or normally could be. Because with last time we were talking about Time Pirates Treasure, the Choose Your Own Adventure book, and it's, that has an arc, that has like character work, even in a place where you wouldn't expect to find it. And I think that's also true of Journal 3.
I love that book. My only regret is I didn't get to work on it, but I couldn't,
You
couldn't
had your
work on
hands
both at the
full.
same time.
Yeah.
Well,
And Jeff and Alex did a great job.
Jeffy Fresh, Stabby the Boss Cat,
he
got
did.
it
No,
for
he
you.
did a great job, and that was perfect. That was a perfect project for him because he is a man of a million ideas, and he got to explore them all.
I was like reading through it. I was like, I don't think anybody except Jeff Rowe could have written this book.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah, no, not
It's
at all.
the most Jeff Rowe book ever written.
As declared.
As
yes.
we have through this podcast had to go through every episode and every bit of expanded universe material, there's a lot of times we've just noticed, why is there this much effort in this? Like
Exactly.
Bill's
That's-
name was first revealed in the browser game Rumble's Revenge on the Disney Channel website, and it's like, why would a Flash game that probably most people would not get their parents' permission to play have...
before going online.
You have to. Why would that have canon information in it? Why?
I mean, I don't know if it's a rhetorical question or not, but the answer is Alex Hirsch. I mean, the answer is that he was the kind of kid that would appreciate that kind of effort in the media he consumed, and he wanted to pass that along and do all that stuff.
Alex Hirsch is the target demographic of Gravity Falls. For sure. So the reason that Journal 3 goes above and beyond in this way is because if a child Alex Hirsch received a copy of Journal 3 that did not go all out like this, he would be disappointed.
Exactly, yeah. So we are trying to create the next generation of Alex Hirsches.
And oh boy, did you!
You really
succeeded
did. You
big
really
time,
did.
With all of the projects that the three of us have done together, we've probably met everyone in the fandom, I would go as far to say.
Probably,
and you created an army of dippers.
Hopefully get better sleep. It really makes every piece of Gravity Falls content feel like cohesive, like feel not like, oh, you have to, or else your watch through of the show has no meaning. Like it is still like optional. You get a complete story with just the show, but it's worthwhile. It's worth your while to go off the beaten path of Disney Plus to buy Guide to Mystery Nonstop Fun, Time Pirates, Journal 3, to look up these games and play them.
Download the Flashpoint Project, which is archived Rumble's Revenge and
Pine's Quest.
Pine's
exactly.
Quest to get a 3DS and, well, maybe not that one, but...
to type in Gravity Falls shorts into Disney Plus and pull up the shorts, etc.
I mean, that was, obviously that's the hope of anybody who creates anything, that you'd want to consume anything involved.
Absolutely.
Even tangentially with it. But, I mean, yeah, we wanted to make sure that things were worthwhile. And
it all feels like it comes from the same world.
For sure.
And it does.
Yeah. I mean, well, because we had the same people doing everything.
Same people, exactly.
And that's also interesting, is when a lot of shows get turned into novelization, it is not the staff of the show writing it. It is just someone, the production company was just like, I don't know, grab this person. They write children's books. But
right.
It was you and Alex and Jeff and Shane.
Yeah. And the marketing for Journal 3, they definitely went all out, because back in March 24th, 2016, Alex tweeted that you can pre-order Journal number 3 now. Just steal your parents' credit card. That's a joke. Don't actually do that, kids. But he also tweeted these testimonials from the Pines family. Mabel says, I bought 2 journals and forced them to make out.
Dipper says, I bought 10 and rolled around in the pile.
Ford Pine says, what? They're selling my journal? Even the embarrassing parts? Don't you dare look inside!
Grunkle Stan says, I bought 20 just to tick off Ford.
Perhaps more famously, there was a Journal 3 infomercial using the set that Alex talked about in our Cypher Hunt episode, the Mystery Shack real-life live-action set with Kristen Schaal.
Now, I know you've heard of book jackets, but have you ever heard of book sweaters? Elegant, sassy. She's a good girl. She's got a secret.
Jason Ritter, although he insists that he's Dipper.
Hi, I'm Dipper. I'm Jason Ritter. Dipper's just a character. He's just a character.
And Alex Hirsch. Alex Hirsch starring as some weirdo buying like 20 of the book.
Kristen, what kind of creep is ever gonna buy one of those? I'll take 10!
Oh, the world is filled with creeps. That's what I'm banking on.
It's true. It's really true.
But it's also it's a great little infomercial where Kristen Schaal is selling book sweaters to put on your journals, and it's the source of the famous
Gravity Falls is real and it will never die
meme,
which Jason has effectively turned into his catchphrase and says it every time he's on this podcast.
It's his catchphrase.
I love it. Every time I watch that, I catch something new. Like the last time I watched it, I caught that he made the case, the safe, too small for the journal.
I measured it 100 times. I literally measured it 100 times.
How could you measure it that many times and know that it doesn't look?
Well, maybe you could just chain it up.
For some reason, I've never caught that before.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Oh my gosh. And it's great. And there's Gravity Falls does these infomercials a lot. There was a whole little series of like Home Shopping Network little shorts with the Grunkle Stan puppet on that same set.
I'm trying to get rid of some of this junk, and I'm passing the savings on to you! Get on the horn and buy one, would ya? Is anybody calling?
We haven't sold any.
Is anyone calling now?
And those are really funny too. But I guess all that advertising paid off because it became a New York Times bestseller. Congratulations, Rob. That was incredible.
Thank you. It was we were very thrilled with the success of it, for sure.
The first of your New York Times bestsellers, knock on wood.
Yes, indeed.
Let's hope.
Was that also part of the motivation of writing these books, was getting into publishing, getting Penguin to see that you have written children's books before?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it was. I mean, I did want to go out and branch into writing, and so yes, but I didn't have any kind of clear path at the time I was writing this book. I didn't have a story for my first.
It was just
book.
Sort of a bucket list sort of deal.
It was. I mean, I wanted to break into publishing, and eventually I wanted to write original stuff. But at the point I was writing the 2 Gravity Falls books, I didn't have an original idea waiting in the wings. I started working on Horrible Bag in my off hours when I was working on Big City Greens back in 2018. So I wrote it kind of in the margins of my time for more than like close to 2 or 3 years before I was eventually ready to show it to anybody. So
the setup of this real life book is really interesting to me, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it, Rob, after I kind of lay it down here. So, after the defeat of Bill and the reversal of Weirdmageddon, I hope you watched Gravity Falls, if you're listening.
How did you find this podcast if you haven't?
Started at the Cypher Hunt and came to this point.
Yeah.
So this is episode 51. We have 50 other episodes talking about every episode of Gravity
But 51
Falls.
is your favorite number, so you had to start here.
Of
It's
course.
not they're here to support Rob. They have no idea. Rob,
Yeah.
This is Rob's wife listening.
Yeah.
she's seen the show.
Oh, she's okay.
So after all that happened, it is revealed that the previously burned journals, because Bill burned them almost immediately when Weirdmageddon started, but they were magically restored when Weirdmageddon ended, and they were later thrown into the bottomless pit. But in the start of the journal that we have in our world, Journal 3 was eventually recovered by the Oregon Parks Department, presumably the Oregon Parks Department of our dimension, which I find kind of interesting as a headcanon personally.
Yeah.
And they wrote,
To whom it may concern, the Parks Department of the state of Oregon was on a routine moose tagging mission when we located this item. A strange dust-covered book lying in the center of a mossy clearing. Quick perusal reveals paranoid ramblings, demonic sketches, descriptions of nonsensical creatures, and uncrackable ciphers. We believe this to either be a prank by high schoolers or the ramblings of a local fraud. But since discovering this book, a number of our troopers have had headaches and disturbing nightmares. We have logged it in our records and are now putting it up for purchase at our annual confiscated item sale / bake-off. Please take this cursed thing off our hands.
so can you speak to this concept at all, Rob? Because I find it very interesting that it's sort of a justification for why you are now holding the book in your hands. It's like very ARG vibes, alternate reality game.
Again, I think that was Alex. That was Alex's concept.
Okay, gotcha.
So the concept that I was more involved with, which is the one where it comes back to Dipper after it is magically restored,
Yeah.
is the idea that like there's more here than he saw when he saw it the first time.
Yeah.
That they came back better than he found them.
There are pages that are restored, pages that were burnt before or that were missing are now in there again, which was our way of getting away with telling more to the audience than Dipper would have known in the show, like early on.
Yeah, if this was the version that Dipper read, he would have been like, I think this guy's related to Stan.
Yeah.
And he would have also not been messed around with Bill at all, like
Yeah,
and all the extra stuff that kind of is like, wait, did Dipper know this? And of course, you
Right.
probably have that question in your mind as you're reading through the journal, and then you get to the end, and it's like, hey, anything that seemed inconsistent with the show, here's our get out of jail free card.
Yeah, that you're reading things that were destroyed by the time Dipper found them.
And there is a little of that retcon nature to it. There are things that didn't really make sense in the show and that Alex says, this always bothered me in the commentaries that are given a more thorough explanation
Right.
in the journal. Like you can acquire a property by just holding the deed without signing it over or a lawyer present because of finders keepers law.
Yeah, I think that was originally, I remember that from like a Reddit AMA or something, that was the kind of hand wave for it, but now it is enshrined in the canon journal.
Or a lot of people complained that Roadside Attraction made no sense where it fell in the air schedule, but there is a bit in the book right after the shack is fitted with unicorn hair that Ford says, I suggest they go on that vacation. Stan wanted to take him on, so I had time to think.
Yeah.
It was definitely a repository for anything that we weren't quite satisfied with. And spoiler alert, Alex Hirsch is never satisfied. He would endlessly rewrite everything forever if he could. So this was like one more way to rewrite the show after we were actually done with it.
Alex would have added someone saying McClunky.
What? Who is that?
The author of the journals.
McClunky.
My brother.
Yeah. The scene where Ford blasts at Bill's hat, we're gonna edit Bill firing a laser seconds before.
Yes.
May I just say that, in my opinion, nothing we did was as egregious as that Star Wars retcon, and never could be.
Or as a Greedo.
Yes, or as a Greedo. As a Greedo, yes. As a Greedo-ish.
But yeah, literally on the page where Ford talks about himself, he has drawn a self-portrait that he has crossed out. But then, presumably, at one point, that was visible. So good thing it was destroyed by the time Dipper found it. Or a bad thing, depending on your perspective. Maybe.
But my favorite thing about the writing is that Ford is here because of a government grant, and yet in the journal, regularly complains about cryptids and describes throwing them away so they stop bothering him instead of researching them.
Yeah, he kind of brushes with a lot of their personalities.
B, just fully admits to breaking the law multiple times throughout this.
The breaking the law was definitely Hirsch, and the frustration with cryptids and such was me. I wrote the 10 ghosts, the 10 category ghost. I wrote that section.
Wonderful.
Oh,
awesome.
That's my favorite. That is literally my favorite section.
Oh,
That's great.
Thank you. I had to figure out because we had this weird thing where there was just this random ghost page in an episode. And then in Northwest Mansion Mystery, we saw Ghost Category 1 and then Ghost Category 10. And I'm okay, we need 8 other categories of ghosts.
I love your stupid references to Casper and Ghostbusters and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge horror fan and watch any horror
Hellraiser,
movie.
of course.
Yeah.
Hellraiser, yeah.
Hellraiser, all those references were me, and I wanted to kind of just deconstruct them all, even though I love them and love Hellraiser. I wanted to
but it's a sign of your
Ford to
love.
have a very different attitude towards these guys. That's this jerk won't stop boasting about how funny he is, which is kind of my criticism of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, where the first one's super, super scary, and by the, you get to the end of the series and Freddy is just basically a stand-up comedian at that point. It's just
I mean, in the first one, he does stick his tongue through a phone to lick someone's ear on the other end.
Yeah. I mean, there are funny, weird, creepy stuff, but he's so much more scary than he ends up being later on. And believe me, I love all iterations of him, but I kind of want him to stay scary.
He's friends with Jason Ritter. Jason was in Freddy vs. Jason, although he was not the Jason in question.
He was not the Jason. Yeah.
That's a missed opportunity.
It really was.
That's coming next. Freddy versus Jason Ritter.
Really, truly.
I mean, why not?
I know, he's beat a Dream Demon before. He's ready, I think.
We did talk about the concept pages that were in the journal that you had to do your screenshots of, but how much of the show Bible got used in this because it wasn't able to be worked into the show?
I honestly don't remember the show Bible at all. I don't think the show Bible was very extensive, so I would say there's not much in the show Bible that made it into the journal. But it's more like concepts.
Well, because the journal wasn't even in the pilot.
Yeah.
So I do wonder about...
There was a big debate whether we would have any kind of book at all.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Pull up close to the fire, kids, and let me tell you a story.
Pull up a chair. Old table read Stan is going to tell you a story.
We were deep into several episodes. Hirsch was debating whether we wanted a journal or not, or any kind of book for Dipper to have. Mm-hmm. And so, in the original version of the Gobblewonker, when he says there's a space hidden under the waterfalls, he was just looking at a map in the first iteration of that story.
Oh, wow.
So we got to the episode where it's revealed that Gideon has Journal 2, and the original ending of that episode had Gideon just kind of stewing by himself at home, and a shadowy demon comes in and starts speaking with him.
Wow.
We pitched that to our exec, Eric Coleman, and Eric loved it. He said, this is great. And then, after lauding the episode, he turned towards us, and specifically Alex, and said, hope you guys have this all worked out. Hope you know where you're going. And so after that, we had, this panicked meeting where
Alex was like, yep. Yeah.
Okay, we got to figure out how we're doing. What are we doing?
I could totally picture the Gilligan cut cliche of just yeah, of course we have a plan. Whoop, we have no plan. What are we gonna do?
That reminds me of the story that when you found that season 1 ends with a cryptogram that says "Search for the Blind Eye," you Rob told Alex, that better mean something.
And Alex was like, yeah, of course it does. Oh my god, it doesn't mean anything. I just thought it sounded cool.
Well, once we establish that, like, there's going to be codes and all the things that are mystery that you think that are something are going to be something, or most of them will be something, and some of them will be fake outs.
Exactly.
We all felt like we had to produce on that promise.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating to know now that the New York Times bestselling Journal 3 almost just didn't exist in the show. It just had no basis.
So we had a brainstorming session. We were all pitching ideas to each other and figuring out what we could do. Vis-a the book, vis-a what was the deal with Gideon and who was behind him, who was this mystery figure.
Yeah.
Was it going to be Bill? Was it going to be somebody else? We talked for like a couple hours, and then Alex said, okay, we've talked about a bunch of stuff. Let's all go off and come up with an idea.
Okay.
Our idea, and we'll come back to the room and we'll pitch it. So I'm the one who went away and came back with the idea that there's not one book, but there's 3.
Yeah.
I said Dipper has journal number 3, Gideon has journal number 2, and Stan has journal number 1. And everybody went with that idea. Everybody thought that was the idea to go with.
I mean, it's perfect.
So this truly is your baby, then. Journal 3 really just is your baby.
In a way, I mean, Alex possibly wanted Dipper to have a book, but he didn't really know what. The idea that I came up with that I thought, like, well, this is great, is that, Gideon has a book, and then we reveal later on that Stan has a book, and that just, like, deepened the mystery about it.
Yeah.
Right. It naturally leads you, because once you see in Tourist Trap Journal 3, immediately you're like, okay, where's 2 and 1? Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
I mean, I really love the reveal that, like, when Gideon gets Dipper's journal and realizes there's another one, like, that's such a good twist right there. Like, he also does not know what's going on. Yeah.
Yes, because he could not have known. Dipper having the latest volume means that he knows the total number of journals. Gideon does not, because he only has journal 2.
Yeah, and I mean, and the topper to all that is that the man who you think who derides all this stuff as nonsense is the one who knows the most about it of all.
Exactly.
Yes.
And there are moments in the released Journal 3 where basically everything is covered. The grant money, the college he went to, his first, pretty early into his days in Gravity Falls. There's not much room for what could have been in Journal 1 and 2, minus a few mentions of more on that in Journal 2.
Yeah.
Was it a difficult thing to come up with in writing of, like, this entire book is going to be the full story, but also it is...
But it can't be everything. Right.
This is the 3rd volume, and volume 1 and 2 will never be written.
Yeah, I mean, basically we just dismiss it with the kind of like, well, my studies go on.
Right. It does make sense that he would, like... Because it's, in the beginning of the book, he's reflecting on, like, it's been 6 years. It makes sense that he would kind of recap Journals 1 and 2 in terms of, like, his journey.
And also, like, he's basically just been nose to the grindstone all this time, but he hasn't made any progress. So in this journal, he gets more reflective about his past and, brings on an assistant, and that leads him to be, more self-reflexive because he has someone else that he can...
to work off of.
Someone's questioning his behavior.
It explains so much about why he is so, like, either blasé or straight up, like, annoyed at a lot of these creatures. Because I'm sure Journal 1 is all wide-eyed optimism, like, oh my gosh, this exists, this is amazing. And then by 3, he's like, yeah, this guy was annoying.
Yeah, I mean, he's 6 years in. Like, it's like the difference between someone who just... got in the army and someone that suffered through 5 years of World War II or something like that. He's a grizzled veteran at this point.
Freshman year, senior year. He got the senioritis.
But I love that grizzled veteran of paranormal investigator, cryptozoologist means... This thing makes noise out of its horn. I don't like the song. I tried to throw it further into the woods.
We tried to be less respectful to the sillier monsters because that just seemed to make sense.
Was that inspired by something in your life, Rob? Why are you annoyed by crypt? Did you accidentally acquire a jackalope one day? It's like, these antlers get in the way. I wish I just had one of these without the sort of...
I mean, I did want to be friends with Frankenstein when I was a young boy because
you're the Grim Reaper now, Rob. You can make that happen.
It's true. I was deathly afraid of monsters when I was a kid, and like when I saw Frankenstein, that was really a key for me because it was clear he wanted to be friends with people, and I thought
you were like, this guy, he just wants to sing "Puttin' on the Ritz" with me.
Yeah, and I didn't see that version as a kid, but I definitely. That would have helped.
I don't know what your first name is. I apologize. Creature Frankenstein? If you're listening to this, reach out to Rob. He's pretty responsive on Twitter. He wants to hang out sometime. Maybe you guys can get something going. Maybe start a show together.
Pick flowers or, something.
Oh, yeah, you also made a show about Dracula.
Oh, yeah!
That's what came out of. That's where that came from. I was deathly afraid of monsters as a kid, and how I made myself feel better was if Frankenstein shows up, I'll just tell him I want to be his friend because he's looking for one.
That's really sweet. Oh my gosh. Aw.
That's so cute.
And he won't kill me.
You, Frankenstein, King Kong, and Gillman would just hit the bar and be like...
Definitely.
We're all misunderstood.
Something we've talked about last time with Time Pirates and just in general about these books is that Disney Press, for whatever reason, seems to have a more lenient, standards and practice censor system than the show.
Yes.
Which, of course, and Alex has gone into vivid detail about standards and practices on the show, but what was it like for the Journal specifically? Because you definitely get to a lot of places.
I remember very little pushback on almost anything. I mean, I can't think of something they didn't let us do.
What surprised me the most, and still does, is that there's a section where Mabel is recapping sock opera and finds a note written by Dipper while Bill is possessing Dipper, where he straight up says, I am going to kill this body once I'm done with it. I'm going to throw Dipper's body off of the water tower with me in it.
And similarly, in the M dimension, Ford was so annoyed by it that he does mention he considered muicide.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Ford does call the characters from the symbol dimension assholes and spells ass with at $, which is pretty clear.
He calls them something.
He calls them something that starts with at, which looks like an A, and dollar, which looks like 2 S's.
I'll take credit for that. That was one of my pages. I did
beautiful.
The other major section that I did pretty much on my own was Ford's adventure in the other dimensions.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Oh, really? Oh my, that part is so good.
What was it like, though, getting to explore all of Ford's adventures in the 30 years that he spent in other dimensions?
It was a lot of fun. I was very excited to do that section. Again, like I said, I'm a big fan of sci-fi and stuff like that. And
yeah, is there a particular science fiction story about dimensional travel that has always kind of piqued your interest?
The one that I straight up parodied was Flatland.
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
That's right.
And that was kind of where that whole section kind of grew out of, like when I started trying to brainstorm ideas.
So much fun.
There was also the M dimension was like a silly idea that we had for we were trying for a long time to break a Mabel goes into the portal on her own, and goes into another dimension, has a dimensional adventure, and we were trying to figure out where she would go. And one of the dumb ideas was a dimension where everything was just M's.
Is that where Bill's friend...
Yeah, in the Bill Cipher AMA that Alex did, there's a point where they ask Bill about his friends and responds, my friends look like this, and responds with the mouth from the letter people.
Like an anthropomorphic
Yes.
M. And so now we had canon that this is where that character comes from. This is their
Bill's
home
friend,
dimension. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
So... yeah, that leads to my other question, because I imagine so many of these, and so many of every other part of the journal, but particularly this other dimension traveling was episodes that you didn't get to do.
Some of it was. The M idea was something that we didn't get to do. Most of the other stuff was just dumb jokes.
Well, there's also the moment where Dipper confides his real name in Ford, which was...
oh my gosh,
There were several attempts to write that into... episodes, as I recall.
Yes.
So Dipper's real name, maybe he's also from the M dimension, because Dipper's real name is Mason Pines.
Yes, there you go. Well, makes sense with Mabel, right? M&M. That's what the kids do with their twins all the time, right?
M&M! Oop, there goes Gravity Falls!
Yeah. I understand why that would have been a big thing to have in Dipper and Mabel versus the Future. But I also think it adds something even more special to this book, that it's here, and that it's such a private, personal thing for Dipper that we as an audience only hear about it secondhand. We don't see it happen.
Right.
I think that's really sweet. Now, I guess that I didn't even think of that question, but did you get to pick that name, or did Alex always know
Alex
it?
always. I think Alex had that from a long time and never talked about it.
Wow.
First time I knew what it was when I read it in the journal.
So then presumably first time anyone besides Alex knew.
Yeah, if somebody else knew, I don't know who it would be.
Yeah. That's
If someone else
That is
knew,
so-
it's unknown what happened to them.
Maybe another dimension. It was probably Bradley. Let's be real.
It
was
Bradley!
probably Bradley.
For sure.
Bradley.
Bradley.
So the connection to the Freemasons that Ford makes to kind of make Dipper feel better, I imagine, was probably the inspiration for it.
Yeah.
First place.
Yes, the original Dipper Alex was into all those kind of secret society things as a kid.
Of course,
for sure. I'm sure he's talked about that.
And it
several
also
times.
tracks with Alex, Ariel, Mabel, Mason.
Yeah, of course.
It's I really like that name, and I'm not just saying that because I have a very good friend who is also named Mason. Shout out to Mason.
I have a very good
But-
jar named Mason.
You have many of those, I believe. As I
I do.
recall.
I have a lot
Yes.
of those. I don't really
Yeah.
drink out of cups too often.
Back to the dimension hopping. It's so much fun to explore. Do you have a favorite dimension?
That's like picking between your children.
Yeah, I mean,
Your interdimensional children.
I love the M dimension. I like the gambling dimension.
Yes.
I want to see Stan have an adventure there, and I'm sorry we couldn't make that work
Yeah,
out.
I'm a big fan of the do-over dimension where time will randomly
Yeah,
reverse to random points.
I love time travel, and I wanted to do something different with time travel, like kind of time than I'd seen before, and I just thought, like, what would be the most irritating version of that?
There was a worry when Tale of Two Stands was first being drafted that a character showing up, punching the most beloved character, and then taking over the show would be annoying to fans. And there are a lot of attempts to show what was going through his mind at the time. Like, we learned that when the portal was opened, he was within inches of defeating Bill.
Yeah.
We learned that
Right, the layout of what's beyond the portal is something we never knew and that I never thought about until the book of like, okay, so yeah, you step inside and what is it? Like, what is the space between the dimensions?
Yeah.
And that would be the Nightmare Realm, as we find out.
And he also travels to a parallel Gravity Falls where Stan did what he said and hid the journal and didn't call him a jerk. And in that world, he is this renowned researcher who owns a pretty big company. So to him, it makes sense. Stan, ruined my chances at success twice.
Yeah, and it brings in a lot of empathy, especially the fact that he returns to find his place of research, a knick-knack shop. And my favorite joke being, a customer walked up to me and told me that their burpin' Stanford Pines figure wasn't burping loud enough. Like, his name is now plastered on all of this kitsch.
The show Gravity Falls definitely throws more sympathy Stan's way than Ford's way, and this was kind of our way of balancing it and showing Ford's perspective. And by the end of the show, I think you feel better about Ford because he's come around and
of course
and reconciled with his brother. But this kind of shows where his head was at and what he was doing, and the idea that he was just about ready to fulfill his life's work and destroy Bill, and then Stan must
and that he had just traveled through a litany of horrifying alternate realities, you see his side of the story. There are a lot of interesting little bits and bops in here that I like, that it makes the Gravity Falls universe feel a lot more interconnected, especially like in the past. Finding out about Gravity Falls' past, like that there was a train crash and that crashed train became Greasy's Diner, and that, And
the train crash was caused by Weirdmageddon and time travel.
Yes, and with that Manly Dan, who we saw in the show building the shack for Ford, it was named Boyish Dan, Dan Corduroy.
Who came up with the name Boyish Dan?
I think that was Hirsch.
That sounds like a Hirsch.
That feels like
so
an
I believe
Alex joke.
I assume Alex also came up with Preston Northwest's father, Old Oldman Northwest.
Oh, I never got that Aldman was old man until this moment.
I think actually I might have come up with that one. I'm not sure.
Okay, I love it.
Oldman?
Yeah,
I love it.
I think I wrote those pages too to kind of figure out how to integrate the that first Northwest story with where they're they go on the venture, they find the paper and they figure it out, and Mabel makes it into
the cover up. Yeah. And it's fascinating too that it connects all of these things that like weren't even necessarily plot holes. They're just very interesting bits of like that makes a lot of sense. That the reason that they're in Scarioki, the episode you directed, that there were so many zombies, there's so many dead bodies to become zombies in the vicinity of the Mystery Shack is because of the mudslide of the lumberjacks in Northwest Mansion Mystery. And it makes so much sense. You'd never think to make that connection. You wouldn't necessarily be asking yourself, but it adds to that. We also get another similarly canned from the finale plot where Dipper Clones 3 and 4 try to replace Dipper Classic, and we get Tracy, the name of Dipper 3, and Quattro, the name of Dipper 4, which is very entertaining.
I'm very proud to announce that those names are my idea.
That's so good.
But I actually wanted there to be a character named Tracy Quattro that showed up after the events of that episode, and that was in the background for a few episodes and was revealed to be Dipper Clone 3 and 4.
That's hilarious.
A
trench coat.
Doing the classic, two kids in a trench coat thing.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
So I made sure it got into the journal.
Love it.
We also discover the humble origins of banjo minstrel Toot Toot McBumpersnazzle, aka Blind Ivan, who began as Ivan Wexler, a teenager working at a carnival. Also at this carnival, Ford gets a palm reading from an old woman who resembles the Hand Witch in a lot of ways.
Very strongly resembles.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and that made me happy because the Hand Witch, as someone who started watching this show because Homestar Runner was on hiatus, the Hand Witch is actually my favorite character in Gravity Falls, and I was very upset to process that the Hand Witch does not exist, that Little Gift Shop of Horrors is not a canon episode, so my favorite character in Gravity Falls is not actually in Gravity Falls, so I thought, until my main man, Rob Renzetti.
Canonize me, Captain.
Actually, I think Hirsch put it.
I know, I'm guessing it was probably, I knew it was probably Hirsch.
Yeah, Hirsch did that. Hirsch did that little bit. I love the Hand Witch too. I'm a big Hand Witch fan.
Fanwitch, yeah.
Fanwitch of the Hand Witch. It's kind of uncanon canon, right? Or canon uncanon, whatever you want to say.
As well as in the page where Dipper is recapping Northwest Mansion Mystery, he decides that the lumberjack ghost is a category 11, demonic vengeance specter. But we find out not only his name, Archibald, but that it's Archibald Corduroy. That there's a picture in Wendy's house that looks exactly like the lumberjack. Which is another, it's kind of, somehow, it's the opposite of what they do in, the Star Wars prequels, where it's Anakin built C-3PO. Darth Vader is C-3PO's dad.
It's in the Star Wars prequels, things that are significant to the audience are significant to the narrative.
Yes.
In the backstory sections of Journal 3, there are things that are significant to the audience that Ford does not find interesting.
Yeah.
Right. And it's that in the Star Wars prequels, in my view, it makes that universe feel smaller, but here it just makes it feel more real. That, these are things that are interconnected and that affect each other. Mm-hmm. And also, Gravity Falls is a small town. It just makes more sense to have it all be more interconnected.
I love how lived in it feels after.
That is exactly it, yes.
Yeah, the TV show version of The Townsfolk is definitely heavily influenced by Hirsch's love of The Simpsons. But when Ford is talking about moving to this lumbering town in the middle of the Pacific Northwest, it does feel like someone moving to a new area and meeting the local populace.
Small lumber town. And especially that scene where he goes to the diner and is feeling just stalked by Bill and all those eyes. It feels, incredibly Twin Peaks, not just because it's a diner, but it's that, side of the road, and it feels a lot more desolate.
Do you think he likes to get pie when he travels to a new town?
Darn good.
and black coffee and bacon so crisp it's almost burned.
Does he call the journal Diane? Diane, you won't believe what I found.
No, he does not. I can
Okay,
answer that he does not.
Canon. I would never. That is ridiculous. I would never do that. My journal's name is Claire. No, my journal's name. Actually, maybe the journal's name is Kathy, because we revealed that Ford had a crush in school named Kathy Crenshaw. There's a code that said, Kathy, what a dream, held her hand and made her scream. That, like, it was an almost, like, romantic thing that because of his 6 fingers, he did not have that relationship.
Yes.
Well, that's the difference between dating in school and dating in the adult world. In the adult world, that extra finger is going to make a difference.
I think Disney Press would probably veto that one. We also get the reveal that Stan and Ford's birthday is June 15th, 2 days after mine. Stan and Ford naturally are Geminis, which, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
And that also means that when Blubs and Durland are doing their horoscopes, Blub says, aren't you a Gemini? And Seuss is born in July, I think, and
Yes, July 13th.
then Dipper and Mabel are August 31st, so there's just...
All summer birthdays. And Gideon.
That's right,
Gideon
New
was
Baby
born,
Sale was
yeah.
in July, yeah.
Yeah.
They all got pool party birthdays.
We love a summer birthday.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that. Stan and Ford's birthday, also notably the anniversary of Gravity Falls.
That's true.
June 15th. We learn via an attempted Rip Van Winkle prank on Seuss, we learn that Seuss is incapable of growing facial hair. And the facial hairs that he has are glued on by him.
Yes.
Yeah. He has alopecia from the ears down.
That might be my joke. I can't remember. I think I wrote those pages.
That's a good joke.
I can relate to that, Seuss.
Yeah.
Oh, we got some Easter eggs, very interestingly connecting to Rick and Morty.
Ah, well, that's Hirsch for sure.
Justin tried so hard to get everybody in on that, and nobody followed through on the show, so this is him finally following through for Justin.
Yeah, it kind of continues the crossover that we saw in Society of the Blind Eye. Listen to our episode on that with Jason Ritter. We get the silhouette of a plumbus. Well, I don't have to describe what that is. Everyone has one in their home. I did always want to know, like, how they made those, though.
Just get on the interdimensional cable. You'll find something.
Yeah, there's probably, like, some schleem, I imagine. Probably some schleem involved. But what is the arc?
What does the story circle say about the Schleem?
There's also a Zygerian. One of them was voiced by David Cross in the episode M. Night Shyamalians. They both appear in silhouette on the Unified Theory of Weirdness illustration.
Ford's interdimensional mugshot has a code that translates to "Rick was here,"
Which is so... I love... I feel like less so with Ford because, you know, Ford was introduced later, but there was, and still is, a massive, a ship in romantic sense and just they would be good drinking buddies sense, which would honestly lead to a romantic relationship.
And there was the vine of the two of them that Alex and Justin shot on a whiteboard.
Hey, Rick, want to solve world hunger? Oh, world hunger. That makes me really hungry.
There's a big, like, crossover ship referred to obviously as Stan Pines and Rick Sanchez. So I love the idea that Rick's out there somewhere, and maybe he'll meet Stan one day, and maybe they'll...
Don't know where, don't know when.
Ford mentions fist fighting a talking chair, possibly in a dimension seen in Close Rick Counters of the Rick kind. Fittingly, the same episode that crosses over with Society of the Blind Eye.
My interpretation was that the talking chair that got in a fist fight with Ford is from the same dimension as Table Mabel, which we will cover in our next podcast.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
The best
all right,
Mabel.
yeah. I like that. Is that also where the chair from Pee-wee's Playhouse is
Well,
from?
that's what I was going to bring up. That's one. I think there's only one talking chair in my life, and that's Cherry from Pee-wee's Playhouse.
And no one's replacing you, Cherry.
That's right.
You have your locket with Cherry in it.
And Cherry has one with Rob and one
Yes.
Yeah. So
That's
I
correct.
think it was at Comic-Con 2015. It was one of the ones with the food trucks that had the something Gravity Falls-y in it, where they were interviewing Alex and...
Hey, we did that once.
We did. They asked him,
Is Ford hiding anything under his sweater?
Yeah. Yes, he is. That's all I can say.
Okay.
and we find out what that is here. It's a tattoo of a talking star saying, "Hey now, I'm an all-star."
So was that... My question then was All-Star by Smash Mouth a multi-dimensional release?
I think there are several dimensions where that
Was
song
that a
exists.
Hirsch joke? Or
I wrote those pages, but Hirsch definitely added that in.
Yeah. Why did I get this tattoo? Like he was drunk.
Anything that dumb in the book is definitely...
Oh yeah, and I'm sure he's proud of that.
Oh my God, yes. I'm proud of him for doing it.
Aww.
It's possible Rick Sanchez gave it to him when he was
That
unconscious.
feels right.
What does that mean? Hey, now you're an all-star. Oh, it's a reference to a song that's from... Well, it's not really from Shrek. It's from Mystery Men, but everyone associates it with Shrek.
Oh hey, yeah, that's interesting. I never knew that.
I thought it was from Shrek, you know?
Nah, that's just where it got more popular, Morty, you see. I think this was in the commentary for the finale that there was going to be an entire episode about the process of getting Grunkle Stan's memory back, and then they realized that was really depressing to write.
Yeah, we decided that we didn't want to do that.
But can you talk a little about writing that in the journal? Because we do get to elaborate on that after Weirdmageddon.
I mean, we were... And the finale was so tough. I mean, we had so much that we wanted to do, and... there were things where we thought we were going to take a lot more time with him, and Stan getting his memory back was one of them. But we just knew that wasn't going to be so satisfying for anybody as a viewer, and so we kind of skipped over it. But we went into it a little bit more detail in the book just to make sure that people knew it was a process and that it didn't
exactly. It makes that
happen instantly.
Feel more real and a lot more emotional. That like even the sentence here, we've even read his favorite terrible jokes from his joke book to him, and he remembers every punchline. Like that gets me teary-eyed.
Yeah, I said I cried at the end of the book. That was one of the moments.
Yeah, and Stan and Ford watching their home movies together, and all of this stuff that also adds a lot more depth to Ford asking Stan to go on the boat adventure with him.
Yeah.
At the end. And it's this great little mini kind of story, little mini conflict where Dipper has started his own journal with a pine tree on it. But he's also like Dipper discovered the regenerated journals on his own and did not tell Ford because Ford was busy helping Stan get his memory back, and he's panicked that Ford will be mad at him. That he has kept them. And immediately the next page is Ford writing and saying, "My grandnephew's fears are unfounded. All I feel toward him is love and pride." And that gets me going too. That's just a lot. That's just a lot of emotions. And this whole ending little monologue here where Ford is just reflecting.
So good.
What was that like to write?
Well, we cried while we wrote it.
Aww.
I mean, Alex and I kind of wrote that together. I don't remember. I think I took a first stab at it, and then he went in and we kind of went back and forth a couple of times on that, I think. But yeah, I mean, that's where we would always intended for Ford to end up. And, we were happy that we thought we pulled it off. So, it was, I've had a similar experience on Kid Cosmic, the end of Kid Cosmic. Even though I helped write it, I cry every time I watched it throughout the whole process. And if I watched it again now, I'd probably start crying. So
Absolutely.
I don't know. Is that sickness? Is that health? I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
It's something that you helped come up with, and you still gets you.
I think it's a sign of a good writer.
Well, thank you very much.
If you can continually surprise yourself, I think it's a sign of good writing.
Yeah, it is.
I agree. I say that regularly. That my favorite podcast is Mystery Shack Look Back, and many people see that as vain, but I'm like, how was I going to...
Well, you're not going to lie.
How was I going to organize, plan, research, record, edit, 51 episodes unless
Of
I was
something
like,
that wasn't- yeah.
this episode's this is my favorite. Oh, I love this show.
Exactly. Yeah, I need the love for it.
So if your material is affecting you the way that you intend for it to affect the audience, then that means that it is effective material.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. And I mean, I've been lucky that almost all my career, I've worked on stuff that I love. And, I think working on stuff that you love and that you're given the creative freedom to make at least approximate the vision you have of it when you start is, it's good for everybody because you get the most sincere, most committed, most valuable stuff that way. And I mean, I was just always privileged from the beginning of my time on Gravity Falls to work with Alex and with a crew that felt the same way and really loved what we were doing. I wouldn't have signed up to be a part of it if I didn't love the pilot when I saw it, or or if I didn't have such confidence in Alex as a creator, who I knew he knew what he wanted to do. And that didn't mean it was it was always easy or smooth. It was the opposite of those things. But there was never a doubt that everything we did and everything we suffered through and all the late nights and all the things we threw out, it was all done out of love for the story we were telling and love for the characters that were in that story. And I hope that the journal reflects that we love these characters.
It does.
Oh, yeah.
When you first came on the podcast, you told us that you had initially met Alex at the brainstorming session for Wander Over Yonder.
Yes.
What was the moment where it clicked to you that this person has an idea to make this show work? This person has a vision.
You mean for Gravity Falls?
For Alex. When was it clear that you were in good hands with this show?
After that brainstorm, there was another brainstorm for Alex's show, for Gravity Falls. And Craig and I were part of that brainstorm.
Oh, wow.
And he showed us the original pilot. And we were bowled over by it. I loved it.
Yeah.
And so we just were spitballing different ideas. And most of those ideas didn't end up in the show eventually, but we just kind of got in a room and threw ideas at the wall. And so I don't really know. I think if Alex had been left alone to do his show and Disney didn't insist on bringing in a veteran, I don't know that he would have reached out and said, no, but I need that bald guy who was the bossy to Craig.
Well, we know he needed you, Rob.
Well,
we do. We know that now.
Look, I'm very proud of my contributions on the show, and it would have been different without me involved. But it was a shotgun wedding. It was a shotgun wedding with a happy ending because we fell in love as creative partners, and the journal is the fullest expression of that. Because while I was creatively
this is your
involved,
vows.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was this is the culmination of the partnership, because on the show itself, though I was involved with the storytelling, I never wrote a script or anything like that. I came up with lines, I came up with ideas, I came up with solutions and gags and did all that stuff, but I never started anything. And I started Journal 3 and then we wrote it together. And so this is, this is our fullest collaboration. So it's, I'm very happy that I got the chance to do it and very happy with how it turned out. And of course, very happy that it was successful and popular and a bestseller and all that. It's just a sign of people's love for it. And that, of course, makes me feel good.
It's great. And so speaking of creative partnerships, there's, in this wrap-up section is also an end to a mini arc that you put in for Fiddleford, which is fantastic, because there's a great comic that I've linked before by a Tumblr user, Gin Juice Tonic, that basically says that Fiddleford has OCD, that Fiddleford is haunted by the things that happen to him, that he cannot escape his own thoughts, and that he has these physical compulsions, like doing the Kubik's cube, so to speak. And Ford is over here, that's kind of the start of the differences between them, because Ford is it's just, I have these mindfulness techniques, I have all these other things that
yeah, he's basically have you tried water and meditation?
Have you tried yoga? And, Fiddleford's brain does not work the same way that Ford's does, and Ford does not understand that at first. And by the time Weirdmageddon ends and Ford, wants to make amends for how he hurt Fiddleford, he's the one who suggests that Fiddleford send his blueprints to the government and sell them, so he can by the Northwest mansion that he renames the Hootenanny Hut.
Yes. Really, what Gravity Falls Journal 3 is, it's a book written by the smartest man in the world, demonstrating why he is the stupidest man in the world.
Exactly, and he ends up, he learns because he leaves Fiddleford's house after suggesting that, sees the finished Kubik's Cube and does not touch it. And that's, it's one of those things where, like with Time Pirates, there are all these scenes that, because it's written by people who worked on the show, I can picture an episode. I can picture this in motion, in animation. And of course, I do have to give a shout out to Andy Gonzalez and Stephanie Ramirez, because these illustrations and these drawings are
stunning.
Beautiful, and they're gorgeous, and especially the Blacklight edition just interweaves beautifully with the illustrations, and yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the journal without that stuff, and
of course, yeah. And Ford is a fantastic artist in universe.
Well, all of them, I think every member of the Pines family has established some level of art skill.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Because Seuss's drawings are simplistic, but you could tell what you're looking at. Dipper doodles a little bit. Mabel is nearly a professional artist at...
Mabel's a Renaissance Mabel.
At everything she tries.
And Stan, artist is part of Stan's title. He's a con artist, but he's an artist.
He does art at cons, right?
That's right.
Is that what that phrase means?
You also can't come up with those creatures in the museum without a little bit of creativity.
Having a creative vision, yeah.
Stan is a very fertile creative.
Yes.
For sure.
Andy and Stephanie just knocked it out of the park. Massive, massive kudos to them.
Yes, they are fantastic, and we were very lucky to have them both work on this.
And Stephanie also did the art for your first book, right?
Yes, she did.
Yeah, that's awesome.
She was a character designer on the show, and she came in, I think, second season, and she just was fantastic. And we tasked her with doing the illustrations, and she just hit that out of the park. And so we were very happy. This was just too big of a job for Andy to tackle on his own, even though he was the one who was doing the journal images that occurred in the show. For the most part. So that's why both of them were brought onto this, because it would have just been too much for either one of them to be able to tackle the amount of time we had on their own. So everybody did a stellar job, and from beginning to end, and it was just a labor of love, and it was really a joy. It was a joy to write, and it was so much fun. And the schedule was forgiving because we were kind of not officially on. We just were kind of doing it in our spare time, and it wasn't. We didn't have given a ton of time, but we were given more time than we got on anything else. Really, you know what I mean? Like the writing of this was more extended than the episode of any writing of the show was. So it was great. We had a great time with it, and I loved just messing around and writing stuff, and figuring it all out. Like I said, I went screen grabbed everything. I'm not a huge riddle person, but I do like puzzles and in a kind of Virgo-ish way of like how to put all this stuff together and make it make sense. That's something that my mind enjoys.
I love that so much. That's literally what I was doing with my journal, was like trying to figure out where it makes me so happy that you guys were literally doing the same thing that the fandom was doing to create the journal.
For sure.
We talked about just it's a stacked book, and there will be a link in the description to purchase it. There's really, we can't get into everything here. However, wouldn't be the Gravity Falls fandom if they were only concerned with the text. They're big proponents into reading between the lines.
Oh yeah, and the Pines.
The lines. So, Rob, do you know where we're about to go?
I don't.
We're about to go into the Hall of Conspiracies. You've been there before.
You're right. Oh my God, I should have seen this coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, right this way to the Hall of Conspiracies.
Thank you, Stan.
So, Rob, you have not been in the Hall of Conspiracies since our Scarioki episode.
I'm guessing there's more exhibits to see now.
It's a few more, yeah.
There's more exhibits.
Yeah, it's a little more furnished. So, vis-a-vis cryptograms. There's a lot. It's a lot. There are far too many to go into individually.
Yeah, we're not going to list all of them here. You can purchase the book yourself or look on the Gravity Falls wiki.
The wiki translates a lot of them, yeah.
But according to Alex, at least as of the time of the DVD release, there were, and perhaps still are, cryptograms yet to be cracked. Rob, this is probably a no because I know the codes are all Alex. Do you happen to know anything about red rectangles?
Yes,
because
so on random parts of this book, there are a series of red rectangles of varying lengths. It almost reminds me of Morse code, but it's not Morse code.
I don't know anything about this. Let me
okay.
They low-key remind me of like Scantron, like when you're doing Scantron.
Yeah.
So Ford wrote, do not write on this page. Fill in the bubble completely with a number 2 pencil.
That's what it says.
Do not
we can't
erase any stray marks.
Anything is possible.
Let's
we
put
need
it into a Scantron
to read the missing code. So if anyone at home has a home Scantron.
Let's see what grade Ford would get on his journal.
Well, I know that normally the way that those work in Scantrons are like, it's the key. It's the key for the Scantron. So, like, you cut out those little things and you lay them on the page so you can see where everything is. It kind of reminds me of a Scantron, but I don't know.
I like that it's still unsolved, though. I dig that.
And Mystery Shack, look back at gmail.com if you're like, wait, that was unsolved? Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I already have that in the margins of my Oops.
And I know that the question about the red rectangles specifically was by one of our Discord members, Juno,
who guested in our Love God episode briefly to educate us.
Juno is the master at solving cryptograms. Ella and I were actually taught everything we know about solving cryptograms by Juno series, who you have said their name in the Patreon shoutouts before.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't know anything about the Visionaire cipher until Juno told us, so shout out to Juno. On the GNOME page, there's a code in the Visionaire key Shmebulock that is from Shmebulock's perspective, but it's also the same one from Legend of the Gnome Jamulets, which makes sense because Alex wrote
that
those codes as well. Yeah, and that is as follows.
Mine is but a solitary existence. I read, I ponder, I stare at the heavens. Bounteous is our world, but cruel is the master of it who condemned me to say but only my name. Perhaps my isolation is my gift. For it is only in the separation from others that a mind can truly be free.
And thanks to Bryan Carroll for voicing that code as Shmebulock. You will likely hear more of him as Shmebulock next time. But
it's kind of sad that Shmebulock can only say his own name and never gets a break from it ever.
Until our next episode.
Perhaps.
On the A Bit of History page in Combined Symbol Substitution Cipher, it says, "Ask Shaman to build first portal. Big mistake. The thing was made out of twigs. Guy lit himself on fire trying to end my reign. Drama queen."
So on the July 29th page, which is just before we are introduced to Fiddleford as the assistant, there is a combined symbol substitution cipher that reads, "One peek into my dimension and this bumpkin lost his weak little mind. All he saw was me removing my exoskeleton to feed. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen, Jack." So that's what traumatized Fiddleford.
On the scrambled cipher wheel page in combined symbol substitution cipher, "Never trust a witch. They'll curse your ear and turn you into an immortal goat. So I hear."
That connects to the question someone asked in the Bill AMA about Gompers, and Bill saying, "I like him better this way." Very, very interesting.
Okay, so on the UFO pages in Bill's symbol cipher, it says, "Some tiny alien specimens may have survived, perhaps hiding in the town in robots disguised as humans." And in Caesar, "Perhaps the ship was on a mission to catalog strange biological specimens. Could the high volume of weirdness on board have drawn the ship to Gravity Falls? To GF?"
To gluten-free?
Gluten-free!
To girlfriend?
To its girlfriend?
Yeah, so maybe there are some tiny alien specimens hiding in the town in robots disguised as humans. Who knows?
Well, there were.
Oh, that's right.
Lefty.
There were.
Lefty.
Good old Lefty. I like to think. I love the idea that they had at one point a full human robot suit and just lost the right side at one point. Like it just broke.
It's never where we think we put it, you know?
Yeah. Don't worry, they're all left now. Ford finds a letter in the Gravity Falls library that is accompanied with an etching of a key and the word Pines. And though he can't crack the code, we can use the Visionaire cipher to discover a letter from Blendon Blandon. And in the special edition journal, the letter is removable, and you can see the translation underneath.
Hey, Dipper and Mabel! Blendon here! I'm currently living in the year 1883, and I hid this letter in hopes that it would one day reach you. I got the idea from the movie Return Backwards to the Past Again 3, which is required viewing for Time Academy freshmen. You've probably got a lot of questions, and after the events of Weird Mageddon, man, I don't blame you. So, here's what happened. After Globnar, I was getting a lot of flack for losing a gladiator fight to 2 children. Even though I got my job back, thanks for that, by the way, my fellow officers kept calling me hurtful nicknames. Time Baby himself called me No Friend in Blandon. Do you know what it's like to live like that? Just as I was thinking I would give anything for Time Baby's respect, this weird triangle guy showed up in my dreams and said that he would make sure Time Baby never bothered me again. All I had to do was shake his hand. I've never been great at making decisions under pressure, and, well, you know the rest. When I awoke, that stupid triangle had used my body to travel through time and destroy the entire universe! And Time Baby, too! Luckily, Time Baby isn't dead! Exactly. It will take 1,000 years for his molecules to reconstitute, and when they do, boy is he gonna be cranky! The Time Agents also survived! They only send their holo projections out on dangerous missions. But Lulf and Dundren were furious about what I did! Of course, this means that there is a dimension-wide manhunt of agents trying to find me and bring me to justice! But it was all a mistake! The last thing I want is to go back to jail, so I've been hiding out in the past! It was fun for a while, seeing the sights, chatting with historical figures, visiting the 50s to try to learn the twists. I accidentally twisted my ankle and couldn't walk for a week. I wanted to check out the Old West too, but when I traveled here, I accidentally appeared right in front of a train and my time tape was shattered into 50 pieces! Also, I think the train might have gone off the rails. Hopefully that isn't in the history books. Anyway, I just wanted to say not to worry about me. I've managed to blend into the populace, and I got a job as a pocket watch repairman. I've also caught one of those cool Gold Rush era diseases that are so popular in these times, and I am loving the nostalgia. Thanks for all your help, and if any Time Agents come looking for me, tell them you don't know nothing. Blendon Benjamin Blandon, 1883. Was the Blendon letter you or Hirsch or a combination?
That was Hirsch.
Okay, gotcha. Because it's heavily referencing Back to the Future 3, so that's where I felt it could have gone either way, because you're a big sci-fi fan.
I am not a big fan of Back to the Future 3, however, but I have seen it. Like it better than Back to the Future 2, but,
Same, yeah.
Okay, that's always an interesting question. It's definitely, again, feeling like something that everyone kind of was like, okay, well, what happened there? It's a loose end that you're kind of tying off neatly.
We are trying to tie as many loose ends off as we possibly can.
Oh, it is. It's a beautiful work of knotting and tying and knots.
I love also that it is in the initial backstory section, despite the fact that it is post-series, because he's a time traveler, and this is something Ford found in the Gravity Falls library.
Right, yes, exactly.
Beautiful.
Journal 3 also gives us more information about the Ashalot, who we met in the secret ending of Curse of the Time Pirate's Treasure, and this is a really mysterious, weird character.
Yeah, Bill prays when he dies to some kind of deity, and then there's a little tiny bit of information about that in Time Pirates. There's a little tiny bit of information about that in Journal 3, and I guess
think it's a little more. I would call it more than Time Pirates, not a lot.
Never an explanation. It's all there for basically the fans to kind of come up with their own...
To read into it as they will, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you speak on that, Rob? Were you involved with this Ashalot
I was
stuff at all?
not involved. So I don't know much more than you guys do, but I kind of enjoy not knowing everything.
Interesting. It's a fascinating unsolved mystery to me, and it feels like the kind of thing that, like, Alex probably has an idea about, but is one of those things that he's keeping in his pocket in case it's ever revisited.
Sure, and I mean, I think the idea is, though Bill is, we know Bill pretty fully, and we know a lot about Bill. There are things beyond that are more powerful than him that we know less about, and there's probably things beyond that we know nothing about, and that is the way of the universe.
Yeah, and I love that. Again, it's making it feel like a much more real and as Shelby said, lived-in universe. So a lot more theories were sparked.
This one comes from Future Robot Blocks on the subreddit, and it is titled, Bill, Ford, Stan, and the Ashalot. Hey everyone, today I've been thinking hard about the meaning of the Ashalot and its connections with Bill, Ford, and Stan. After finishing Journal 3 and seeing the Ashalot ending for the Time Pirates book, I believe I've made a pretty reasonable theory as to the significance of Bill's backwards message, the Oracle, and the meaning of the Ashalot itself.
That's right, because Ford meets this alien creature, the Oracle.
That has a tapestry of the Ashalot behind it in the illustration. The
Oracle also is the one who installs the metal plate in Ford's head and is from Dimension 52, so when Ford's thought reading scanner thing says, I miss Dimension 52, he's talking about the Oracle. I think they probably had a fling or something.
That's pretty cute.
That is meant to be one of his kind of missed chances at romantic happiness.
Interesting. Oh man.
You know what? I'm gonna be real here. She's hotter than Kathy Crenshaw.
Ford, you could do better. Kathy Crenshaw, she's only got like 2 eyes.
So first up, let's review what Bill says in his backwards message at the end of Weirdmageddon 3.
Now, as we've discussed on this subreddit many times before, Ashalots have the nifty ability to regenerate limbs. They can regrow. This seems to suggest Bill is trying to come back in the future, further evidenced by him invoking the ancient power that he may return. This was the commonly accepted theory, but now that the Time Pirates and Journal 3 are out, they give us some more ideas to play around with.
In Time Pirates, you can find this page. Dipper and Mabel find the Ashalot, and when Dipper asks him what he knows about Bill, he says an interesting tidbit. If he wants to shirk the blame, he'll have to invoke my name. One way to absolve his crime, a different form, a different time. Shirk means to avoid. Bill, in order to avoid the blame, has to invoke his name, the Ashalot. And we can see that he also said invoke in his backwards message. Absolve means to set or declare someone free of blame, guilt, or responsibility. This part also mentions a different form in time.
And the last Ashalot information we get is in Journal 3. Near the end, when Ford is writing about his time in the portal, there is a page about him discovering a group of refugees. When Ford reveals his plans to destroy Bill to the group, they all yelled, "Praise the Ashalot!" Finally, in the page about the Oracle, she says to Ford that he has the face of a man who was destined to destroy Bill. Guess who's behind the Oracle and the illustration behind her? Pictures of Ashalots.
So we have all this evidence, but what to do with it? Well, here's my 2 cents on everything. The Ashalot is the chosen one destined to defeat Bill. Why? Well, firstly, the refugees say, "Praise the Ashalot!" when Ford discusses his plans to defeat Bill, like they're calling Ford the Ashalot. Also, the Oracle, who says to Ford that he looks like a man who could defeat Bill, has pictures of Ashalots behind her.
Basically, it seems like they're calling Ford the chosen one for defeating Bill, but in the end, who defeats him? Stanley, by getting his memory wiped and trapping Bill inside his mind. Destiny has always played a part in the series as a whole, with the Zodiac and other small occurrences. It seems like Destiny confused Stan and Ford because they're twins, and somehow fate couldn't tell them apart. Remember how the Oracle said he had the face of a man destined to destroy Bill? Well, guess who looks very similar to Ford? Stanley does. And guess what Stan has had in the living room the entire show? Well, most of the show, some of the show. And a Ashalot in his fish tank.
But what does everything else mean? Well, for the actual Asholot, Dipper, and Mabelsea, I think that's actually Bill, communicating from inside Stan's mind. The Asholot's mind. Bill does like to speak in rhymes, but why does Bill invoke the Asholot's name? Stanley's name. He's trying to get Stan to forgive him.
You see, with Bill in Stan's mind, the only way he could probably come back is getting Stan to remember and forgive him. Therefore, Bill is shirking the blame, which will let him move to a different form, a different time. What's the different form? Well, maybe it's a bird that's been following Mabel and Dipper around all summer, sitting on the Cypher statue and looking in the attic window at the end of Weirdmageddon 3.
Anyways, that was my theory. Thank you for reading if you took the time to do so. There may be some holes in it, but I worked my hardest on it. If you have any ideas, you guys tell me down below. Thanks. Too long didn't read. Stan is the Asholot, destined to destroy Bill, and the only way Bill can escape Stan's mind is having Stan remember and forgive him, taking the blame from Bill and freeing him, turning him into a bird.
Into a Boyd.
The boy!
He turning him into a Boyd.
They turned the triangle into a bird. Fascinating. One of the comments, as the theorist invited responses, there was a response from the user named Co-Confused. I'm co-confused.
I'm co-confused about this.
And they said, nope, Destiny and the Oracle had it spot on. You're making the assumption that somehow Destiny, a supernatural cosmic force, was being wrong? Not very likely. Here's the catch. She never said it was actually him. She only said that Ford had the face of a man who was going to destroy Bill. She was very much implying that it was not Ford, but who we know as Stan was going to do it. And I think I definitely vibe with that interpretation more, but it's interesting that there is another theory about, like, oh, Stan is actually this, because last time we talked about the same coin theory in which Stan is theorized to be another form of Bill, but here it's like, oh, maybe Stan is the Asholot instead.
In another Reddit thread trying to determine who or what or how is the Asholot, Dank Slayer 2001 posits, I think he's the keeper of time and space. He lives in between space-time and is so powerful he can give beings new life.
Bell_Sans_Merci.
Which,
says,
by the way, means beautiful Sans, thank you.
Oh, beautiful Sans, thank you. The Asholot, no relation to the Asholot in Grunkle Stan's fish tank, as far as I know, is some kind of Watcher-esque figure, as in the Watcher from Marvel, who keeps an eye on things, including Bill. Apparently Bill hates him, but he needs his help to raise himself from the dead. What exactly that entails, we just don't know.
And then user Tesseract618 says, he looks like the big good in the Gravity Falls universe. Far more powerful than Bill, too.
And I love just all these different interpretations. I personally like the idea that the Asholot is just God. Like, it's just straight up God. Like, it is, like, this is a monotheistic multiverse, and it's just
it's just
Mexican
the Asholot.
It's just a Mexican water dog in the center of space and time, controlling everything and watching over everything.
I knew it!
Of course. You were right all along.
I mean, it makes as much sense as anything else, right?
And Asholots are so dang cute.
It's true.
We have some fan mail here from a listener named Honey. This no relation.
Honey.
No relation to Charlie's Rabbit.
She's just got
unfortunately.
two big buttons for typing.
Yeah. Honey, they have written us regarding our Weirdmageddon episodes.
So I'm going to start off with the Bill theme song, because when y'all started playing it, I literally started crying. It brought me back to when I was in middle school listening to it and making my own little Bill Cipher animatics, and man, I miss that time. Not really, I'm pretty sure I broke my rib that year. It was not great, but Gravity Falls was still going.
Alex's breakup letter to the fans was very well written and much better than the last two breakups I've heard about, and it felt nice. I did cry a bit again, but I will always cry at the end of Gravity Falls. I'm very glad that y'all started this podcast and that I had the pleasure of finding it while looking for another Gravity Falls-related media.
How I coped with the ends of Gravity Falls? I didn't. But seriously, I never stopped being obsessed with it. Never a day goes by that I don't think about Gravity Falls. I did get the Journal 3. I really wanted the special edition, but sadly didn't get a copy.
But for just $3,000,
For just
you too can make...
$3,400, specifically $3,400 or $4,500, which I will have to get a new one because that one I'm pretty sure went up in flames. Literally.
Oh no.
I remember making a Dipper hat out of a Braves hat, and I tried to undo the embroidery on it, but that was hard, so I painted over it. Also, lost that hat. And, of course, talking about it and investing all my free time diving into Gravity Falls media and fan media, and every time I watch the finale, I cry.
Same. Thank y'all for doing this podcast and allowing me to go back to when I was younger and experiencing Gravity Falls for the first time.
Grazie tibi amigos, quod hoc fesist.
Now can you do it like the Society of the Blind Eye, like ancient chant?
Grazie tibi amigos, quod hoc fesist.
That would be eerily chanted Latin for thank you for doing this. Signed, Honey Harmon. They, them. And their cat Bean.
How much of that what do you think was the distribution of labor there? Was this like a Alex Hirsch, Rob Renzetti situation?
I think
it was mostly
all
Bean.
Cat, Bean, and...
I think it was all Bean.
Yeah.
Oh, the problem is that Cat Bean speaks English, Honey Harmon only speaks Latin, so...
Yes, we have the exact distribution of labor right there, yes.
What do you think, Cat Bean? Gratias tibi amigos.
The stupidest podcast in the world. I'm gonna miss it so much.
I love it. I guess that about wraps up our journal journey. Thank you so much, Rob Renzetti, for talking to us about your Gravity Falls magnum opus here. Really, it's a fantastic piece, and it shows off your writing prowess excellently, I think.
Well, thank you very much.
Is there anything you'd like to plug?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can follow me at Rob Renzetti on Twitter, and I have an Instagram as well, but I can't remember that damn thing for the life of me. And I'm barely there. I have to do better and get on Instagram more often, but I'm on Twitter pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Posting lots of Teenage Robot behind the scenes artwork.
Yeah. I just saw that
talking
there's
about other stuff.
They're doing like a pin for the 10th anniversary, right? There's this like
yeah. The what's the name of the?
I think it's
the
like
company
Zen Monkey or something.
Yeah, Zen Monkey. They do Teenage Robot pins. I got them all.
They have they have this really cool one coming up for the.
Yeah, they do a little bit of merch for the show.
Yeah,
that's
super
cool. Many years later, but so yeah, I'm on Twitter, and of course I've got the book coming up from Penguin Random House next year, 2023. The Horrible Bag of Terrible Things.
I'm so excited!
It's the first book in a trilogy.
Ooh.
Amazing.
I've seen the cover, and it's looking great. I don't know when I'm going to be able to reveal that officially, but I hope soon. And I'm working on book 2 as we speak.
Yeah, if you enjoyed Journal 3, I guarantee you're gonna get super excited as we are for the Horrible Bag of Terrible Things.
There will be a podcast about it on this same feed.
Yes,
when it is released.
We will.
Thank you guys. Very excited to do
that. Of course, yeah.
If you are interested in acquiring a copy of Journal 3 for free, we actually are about to set up a little listener contest.
Oh, how lovely.
With giveaway for not just Gravity Falls Journal 3, but also the DVD box set, Season 1, Season 2, and special features, and the 3DS game Legend of the Gnome Gemulants. So if you want to win all 3 of those things...
These fabulous prizes.
Yeah.
Vanna, tell them what they want.
Ramping up to close here. We really want to do a clip show, because we had a lot of fun with this and have a lot of fun memories of this podcast. So please tweet if you're interested in winning those 3 things, help with our clip show. Tweet your favorite moment from Mystery Shack Look Back with the hashtag #LookBackLookBack. You will be entered for a chance to win. Just a text tweet describing the moment gives you 1 entry, and if you actually include the clip embedded on Twitter in video format, that counts as 2 entries.
Or audio. Nice. I think they do allow audio uploads as well now, so you could.
Oh, they allow audio uploads?
Yeah, so that works too. If you want to find more episodes of this podcast that we are almost at the very end of. Wow, that's...
Well, there's the vinyl coming out.
I know, but it's the end of the main run, I would say, is momentous. And you can go to our host network, pipedreampodcast.com, where you can find other shows like Escape from Vault Disney, How Did This Not Get Made, Come On Fuqua Pods, and Pod Made You Special, revisiting VeggieTales. While you're there, you can find a link to our show's social medias, Discord server, and our Patreon, patreon.com/Mystery Shack. $3 will get you a shout out at the end of episodes. $5 will get you into an exclusive Discord channel. $40 will get you either a voice commission from Charlie or an art commission from myself. Check out our merch store at crowdmade.com/collection/Mystery Shack. Send us an email about whatever you want.
There are an infinite amount of ways to interpret the Asholot and its relationship to Bill and its relationship to the Oracle.
That's true. So you could send us your interpretation, your theories about the Asholot, or your shrines to the Asholot at mysteryshacklookback@gmail.com.
Or your prayers to the Asholot.
Yeah.
Or just your Asholot. If you have one.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
That too.
Or sugar gliders or rabbits.
Yeah.
True. If you have any pictures of your Asholot dressed like Grunkle Stan, send it our way.
Oh, yeah. That'll confirm their theory.
Of course.
I would like to thank Bryan for making the instrumental to our theme song. I would like to thank Alex Hirsch for voicing Stan in the Hall of Conspiracies intro and voicing our Patreon shoutouts along with Jason Ritter. I would like to thank Tsunami Holmes for the Stanford font that is used in our thumbnails.
Adam, I appreciate that you cataloged all your findings about the nature of our spit in a series of journals. I don't know if it was necessary, but I appreciate the effort.
And, of course, I would like to thank Simon the Timbulb V2-0, who has been our soundtrack
to the Hall of Conspiracies, yeah.
So we introduced it in, I think, our third episode. And we've always played a brief little snippet of the instrumental, but, there ain't going to be too many more visits to the Hall of Conspiracies.
Unfortunately, yeah. So we'll, in lieu of My Heart's in Gravity Falls, the song that I wrote, we will play the full version of this little tune that... Did we also play it in first episode?
We have never played the entirety of
We didn't play the full...
Dentist.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. So this is for the first time on this podcast, we're about to play the full Hall of Conspiracies theme, a.k.a. Lentil Dentist, a remix of some weird bit from our first episode.
The Guide to Neil Cicierega bit from our first... It's weird.
It's just occurring to me this show is really weird.
I never noticed.
Yeah, it's by Sim and the Dimble V2-0. Link in the description, and take it away, Sim.
Is he a lentil that's also a dentist, or is he a dentist that services lentils? Who in the world would ever invent this? Such a conundrum, it's driving me mental.
Lentil dentist.
Lentil dentist.
Lentil dentist?
This is not a drill.
Lentil dentist.
What I meant is
lentil dentist.
Charlie's ad-libs kill.
Visit his office, not that you'll see him when he's with patients. He is unseen. Shape in the window surely can't be him. It doesn't resemble a man or a bean.
Lentil dentist.
Lentil dentist.
Lentil dentist?
This is not a drill.
Lentil dentist.
What I meant is
Oh wait, I got one.
Charlie's ad-libs
Eldest Niltint, inland settled, scent little dim, sin nettled lit, tend little sin, listen, tilt end. Its lenient limited list netted nil. Still 10 timed. Neil's TNT tilde.
All right, ready to move on?
Hey, it's Dipper Pines, and I'm here to read the Patreon shoutouts. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to be doing this by myself.
Wiggity wiggity, what's up, dude bros? I'm Dippy Fresh, and I came because I heard someone wanted me to read some names in a list.
No.
Yeah.
Dippy Fresh, please, I can do this by myself, actually. So if you want to just go skateboard or do whatever you were doing before, I can do this all by myself.
Never gonna happen. Let's get stiggity started.
Oh, stiggity started? All right, Daddy Driftwood.
Friendly local geek.
Daddy Buttons.
Sterling Jubilation Axel.
Fun Boringness.
Hugh Salinas.
Juno Ceres.
David Gansel.
Liz Clark.
Richard Scanland. What's up?
Jamie Belts.
Your voice cracks, mine doesn't, because I'm better. Ryan Faber.
The crack is a feature, not a bug. Stephen Patrick Mulholland.
Gwen Prime.
Junior bruh. I'm just gonna say Junior bruh. You don't have to do that. Junior bruh.
You're trying your best, bro. You got it. Joseph Jones.
Oliver Pluto.
Petey Piranha Plant.
Elizabeth Neuenfeld.
Mumpleteen D. Rumpleteen?
You're making that up. Vanillin Zucker.
No, I'm not. Ro Davis.
Adam with 2 A's, a D and an M.
I'm sliding into your DMs. Delphine Ducey.
Please don't slide into my DMs.
May I slide into your DMs? Jessie Marie McDougal.
Absolutely not. B. Calisota.
But what if I send you cool memes, Rich Raw?
No thanks to Be Fresh. This is the end of our interaction for the rest of all time. Samantha Angley.
Easy Snake Oven.
And Spencer Neil Campbell, please get me out of this room with To Be Fresh immediately.
Let's have a pizza party. I'm gonna slide into your DMs later. Love you, Dipper.
I don't love you. Please never slide into my DMs. I hope I never, ever see you again. I thought you became
pizza
worse.
party. Let's have a pizza party. Let's have a pizza.
Patreon.com/Mystery Shack. Donate now.